Have you ever noticed how your hand instinctively reaches for your headphones the moment you step outside, or how the thought of leaving home without them creates a small knot of panic in your chest? You're sitting on the bus, walking through the grocery store, even just moving from one room to another in your own home. And there they are, those familiar ear cups or buds creating a barrier between you and the world. To anyone watching, you might look antisocial, disconnected, maybe even rude. But inside your head, beneath those headphones, something entirely different is happening. Inside, you're not escaping the world, you're making it tolerable. You're not hiding from people, you're managing an overwhelming sensory environment that feels like it's constantly demanding more than you have to give. The sounds around you, conversations, traffic, the fluorescent hum of overhead lights, the unexpected laugh from across the room, they don't just exist in the background for you. They press in, insistent and exhausting, creating a static that makes it harder to think, harder to feel like yourself, harder to simply exist without effort. You wonder if something is wrong with you. Why can't you just handle normal noise like everyone else seems to? Why does the thought of commuting without music feel like exposing a raw nerve? Why do you feel calmer, more focused, more you, when there's something playing directly into your ears, blocking out the unpredictable chaos of ambient sound? But what if this isn't weakness? What if this isn't antisocial behavior or emotional avoidance? What if your constant need for headphones is actually your nervous system's sophisticated strategy for functioning in a world that wasn't designed for the way you process information? A world that privileges certain sensory tolerances and punishes others. What if those headphones aren't a barrier at all, but a bridge between who you are and the person you're trying to be? Out there in the overwhelming, unpredictable, sonically chaotic world. When people see someone with headphones on constantly, their reactions are immediate and judgmental. They see someone who doesn't want to engage, someone who's putting up walls, someone choosing isolation over connection. In meetings, you're the one who seems distracted. On walks, you're the person who doesn't hear someone greeting you. At family gatherings, you're accused of being in your own world, disconnected, not present. The assumptions pile up quickly. You're antisocial, you're addicted to technology, you're avoiding real life. You're being disrespectful by not giving people your full attention. You're immature, unable to handle silence or solitude without digital stimulation. You're depressed and using music to escape your feelings. These judgments come from colleagues, family members, even strangers who feel entitled to comment on your dependence on your devices. But here's the truth they're missing entirely. Your headphones aren't about avoiding the world. They're about being able to participate in it. For you, ambient noise isn't background, it's foreground. Every conversation happening nearby, every door closing, every footstep, every unexpected sound is processed with equal priority by your nervous system, creating a cognitive load that makes basic functioning exhausting. Your headphones don't disconnect you from reality. They filter reality down to something your particular nervous system can actually process without shutting down. The music or podcasts or white noise you're playing isn't distraction, it's regulation. It's the difference between overwhelm and functionality, between scattered anxiety and focused presence, between depleted exhaustion and sustainable energy. From an evolutionary perspective, varied sensory sensitivity was adaptive for human groups. While some individuals could tolerate the chaos of busy communal spaces, others were the ones who noticed the subtle snap of a twig, the barely audible shift in wind, the quiet approach of danger. High sensory sensitivity, what we now call sensory processing sensitivity, exists in approximately 15 to 20% of the population and appears across more than 100 species. This wasn't a flaw in the genetic code. It was diversification of survival strategy. Your ancestors weren't the ones thriving in the noisy center of the village. They were the sentinels, the ones whose discomfort with chaos made them excellent at detecting threats everyone else missed.
Neurologically, what's happening in your brain is fundamentally different from what's happening in the brains of people who can comfortably exist without auditory regulation. Research on sensory processing sensitivity shows that individuals with this trait have heightened activation in brain regions associated with awareness, sensory processing, and empathy, particularly the insula and areas involved in integrating sensory information. Your brain isn't filtering ambient sound into important and unimportant categories as efficiently as others' brains do. Every sound registers. Every stimulus gets processed. Without intervention, this creates cognitive overload. Your working memory fills up with irrelevant auditory information, leaving less capacity for the tasks you're actually trying to accomplish.
When you put on headphones and play music or white noise, you're doing something remarkably sophisticated. You're replacing unpredictable, uncontrollable auditory input with predictable, controllable input. Your brain can stop scanning the environment for potential threats or demands and can instead relax into a known soundscape. This frees up cognitive resources for everything else: thinking, feeling, connecting, functioning. For some people, silence works this way. For you, silence is full of sound. The hum of electricity, distant conversations, your own heartbeat amplified. Controlled sound is what creates the spaciousness others find in quiet. This pattern often begins early, though you might not have had language for it then. Maybe you were the child who couldn't concentrate on homework when siblings were playing nearby, who melted down after loud birthday parties, who begged to leave crowded restaurants. Adults probably told you that you were too sensitive, that you needed to toughen up, that the world wouldn't accommodate your needs. So you learned not to ask for accommodation. Instead, you discovered your own solutions, closing doors, hiding in quiet corners, and eventually, headphones. What looked like preference was actually self-preservation. You weren't choosing isolation, you were choosing function over dysfunction, regulation over overwhelm. Those early experiences taught you that your needs were inconvenient, that your nervous system's reality was somehow invalid, and that survival meant finding ways to cope without burdening others with your sensitivity. Over time, your nervous system learned that headphones equal safety. This isn't psychological dependence, it's classical conditioning at the autonomic level. Your body learned that unpredictable ambient noise correlates with eventual overwhelm, exhaustion, and dysregulation. It also learned that controlled auditory input correlates with maintained focus, stable energy, and the ability to engage without depleting yourself. Now, the simple act of putting on headphones sends a signal to your nervous system. We're managing the environment. You can stand down from high alert. Your heart rate settles. Your breathing deepens. The constant scanning for threats decreases. This is adaptive, not pathological. You've trained your body to recognize a tool that works, and your body responds accordingly. The panic you feel when you forget your headphones isn't irrational. It's your nervous system anticipating functioning without a regulation tool it's come to rely on. Cognitively, constant headphone use often correlates with a need for control in an unpredictable world. You can't control when someone will laugh loudly nearby, when construction will start outside, when a conversation will erupt next to you. But you can control what's playing in your ears. This sense of agency over your sensory experience reduces anxiety and increases your capacity for presence. Emotionally, there's often an element of protection, not from feelings, but from the emotional energy of others. If you're someone who absorbs the moods of people around you, headphones create a boundary that makes it possible to be in public without taking on everyone else's stress, frustration, or intensity. The music isn't numbing your emotions, it's preventing you from being flooded by emotions that aren't even yours. Relationally, this pattern affects how people perceive you and how you navigate connection. You might be labeled as distant or unavailable, when actually you're highly sensitive and deeply attuned. You just need regulation tools to prevent that attunement from becoming overwhelm. Intimacy requires removing the headphones, which means intimacy requires trust that the other person won't create the unpredictable chaos your nervous system can't handle. In terms of identity,
your headphones have likely become part of how you recognize yourself. A visible marker of your needs, your sensitivity, your difference. Removing them can feel like removing armor, leaving you exposed and vulnerable. This isn't vanity or attachment to an accessory. It's recognizing that this tool has become integrated into how you successfully navigate being yourself in the world. There's a shame you carry that others don't see. A quiet belief that you should be able to function like everyone else. That needing headphones constantly means you're fragile, broken, or inadequate. You see people moving through the world without these tools, handling noise and chaos with apparent ease, and you wonder what's wrong with you that you can't do the same. Maybe you've been told you're too dependent on your devices, that you're not present, that you're hiding from real life. Maybe you've internalized those messages and feel guilty every time you reach for your headphones, even as you know you need them. This shame exists because we live in a culture that doesn't understand sensory processing differences and treats them as personal failings rather than neurological variations. We celebrate extroversion, resilience to chaos, and the ability to thrive in overstimulating environments. We pathologize sensitivity, need for control, and requirements for regulation.
So, when your nervous system needs something different, needs predictability, boundaries, controlled input, you're made to feel like you're doing life wrong, like you're weak or avoidant or antisocial. But here's the reframe you need to hear. Needing headphones constantly isn't weakness, it's self-awareness. It's not avoidance, it's sophisticated nervous system regulation. It's not antisocial, it's actually what makes it possible for you to be social without completely depleting yourself. Those people who seem fine without regulation tools, they're not stronger than you. They have different nervous systems that process sensory input differently. They don't need the same tools you need, just like you might not need tools they require in areas where your system is more resilient. Your headphones are an accommodation, and accommodations aren't failures. They're intelligent responses to real needs. You're not broken, you're different. And different requires different tools. There's a mainstream narrative about how people should move through the world. Fully present, constantly available for unexpected interaction, comfortable with ambient chaos, naturally able to focus despite environmental unpredictability. In this narrative, needing regulation tools like headphones suggests you're not fully participating in life, that you're choosing comfort over growth, safety over challenge. But there's another way to see this, and it's not less valid. It's simply designed for a different nervous system. In this perspective, your constant headphone use isn't withdrawal from the world, but engaged participation with it on terms that allow you to actually function. You're not avoiding challenge. You're recognizing that for you, the baseline challenge of navigating sensory input is already significant, and adding unnecessary difficulty doesn't make you stronger, it makes you depleted. You're not choosing comfort over growth, you're choosing sustainable functioning over performative resilience. You understand something crucial that others might not, that you can't grow, connect, or contribute from a place of constant overwhelm. Your headphones aren't a barrier to presence, they're what makes presence possible. From this angle, you're not the person who can't handle normal environments. You're the person who's aware enough of your needs to meet them, who's developed effective tools for regulation, who's found a way to participate in a world that wasn't designed for your nervous system without constantly depleting yourself. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. So, what does all of this mean for you, for your life, for how you understand yourself? It means that your need for headphones is information, data about how your nervous system works, what it requires to function well, and what kinds of environments and interactions are sustainable for you versus depleting. This information isn't a limitation, it's a map. It tells you that you thrive with predictability, that you need control over your sensory environment, that you're sensitive to the emotional and energetic input of others. None of this is bad, it's just true. In terms of your identity, this means you might be someone who operates differently than the cultural mainstream, who needs different conditions to do your best work and be your best self. That's not a flaw, it's a characteristic. The world needs people who are highly attuned, who notice subtleties, who process deeply. Those traits often come with the same nervous system that gets overwhelmed by chaos. Your headphones are part of how you honor both, the sensitivity and the need for regulation. They let you bring your gifts without being destroyed by your vulnerabilities. Moving forward, the question isn't, how do I stop needing headphones? It's, how do I build a life that accommodates my actual needs instead of the needs I wish I had? That might mean choosing living situations with better sound insulation, careers with flexibility around sensory environment, relationships with people who understand that your headphones aren't rejection. It means rejecting shame and embracing accommodation as intelligent design. If you've recognized yourself in this description, know that you're not alone in this experience, and you're not wrong for needing what you need. Your nervous system's requirements are valid, and the tools you've developed to meet those requirements are evidence of your adaptability and self-awareness, not your weakness. I'm curious, what do you listen to when you need regulation most? Music? Podcasts? White noise? Something else? And have you found other tools that work similarly for you in managing sensory overwhelm? Share in the comments below. Your strategies might help someone else who's struggling. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that explores the psychology behind the patterns we don't always understand, that validates experiences the mainstream dismisses, and that helps you see yourself more clearly and compassionately.